Okay, hey everybody, this is Grace, and I'm hoping this doesn't sound like the wind is blowing back because it's on my AC in my car. I usually show the trees, but it's so sunny. It's 87 degrees. It's June 4th, 1:01 p.m. But it's so sunny it made my cell phone, which is the camera I'm using, it made it hot. Of course, I mean, I'm not new to this. Been doing this, using my camera inside my vehicle for, it'll be 12 years almost. Well, 12 years I started making videos on my original channel, and I started doing it right after that. So, not new, not at all new, and it's not, of course, it's not the same cell phone. I don't know how many I've had since then. I'm supposed to get a new one for tomorrow, but we didn't go back like we were supposed to for my birthday. But so we'll see when I actually get it. We're both getting new cell phones because both of our cell phones, you know, it's been like this for many years. I've had my first cell phone, I think, in the 1990s, and it's the same way. You know, after a certain length of time, that's it. You got to get a new one. But anyway, in this video, what I want to talk about is, you know, I have this rare health condition and it doesn't really allow me to lose weight. I'm always going to be overweight. I always will be overweight. And I've had it since I was a child. And so, you know, I know the score. I know that dieting, exercise, and this is known, okay, by professionals. Diet and exercise will not alleviate the weight. It won't help the weight. And the NIH, National Institutes of Health, the gold standard, says it's extremely hard for a person with this to lose weight. And I'm not naming it. Sorry, I had to stop and cough there. I'm not naming it because there was somebody who two somebodies that I know of, it could have been more, that make videos on YouTube like me. Those two actually tried to use it to grift, to make money off of it. You know, to say that, from what I understand, it's illegal, so I never heard ever again either one of them try to do that. You know, because I made a video saying, from what I understand, I'm not anybody I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, not a voice of authority on it, but I have heard because of it, something a woman online did and got in a lot of trouble. You know, trying to fake to make money. She faked a health condition. Mine is real. Had it since I was a child. And seriously, how low can you go? Period. Well, they can go pretty low because a lot of these grifters, I don't like the word grifter, but, you know, the sob stories, they always say that they can't, I mean, most often, I've seen them for almost 12 years, they start off with saying that they don't have money for groceries, you know, and they see that, people send them money, their audience, you know, plenty of people send them $5, $1 even. Somebody that's on disability, you know, or Social Security, fixed income, they'll send them $1, whatever they can get. They don't care if they get it. And some of them have the nerve to use their children. They're lying, by the way, and it becomes obvious. So, anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about either. What I wanted to talk about is there was one situation, and I mentioned this in another video. There was one situation where I had, in all these years since I was a child, I had gained weight. And it turns out, you know, once I quit doing that, I lost that weight back. But I had gained a lot of weight. I wasn't a child, I was a teen, I was in my 20s, early to mid 20s. And I gained a bunch of weight. Ooh, a bunch. And I quit doing that. It was drinking anything with sugar in it. I'm not suggesting this to anybody else. This was me with a rare health condition. I mean, it's rare, very rare. And what works for me doesn't work for other people, and vice versa. And sometimes it can have a really bad reaction, and I had to have doctors. I spoke to my doctor, and he was told me what to do, but I lost that weight so fast after that, and that I gained, lost. Well, that just recently happened because I got on a pill finally, after all these years, for that rare health condition, and we didn't know what's going on. Why was this happening? Me and the doctor, and finally, I sent him a note. To the portal, I'm not taking this anymore, and he agreed. Let's hold off on it. And he'd already suggested it at first, and kinda, but then when I saw him, he said, let's try every third day. I did that once, not knowing that once was it for me, because I started gaining 2 pounds a day, and of course it's fluid and stuff, and it was really bad reaction, caused even more problems. Other than that, gained quite a bit of weight, and that weight's gone off. In fact, I'm down even further than what I was before taking that medication for the rare health condition. But that is also, like I said, could be due to something very similar. Yeah. So I'm going to be testing it to see, because I changed my diet back in, I had a regular diet. I ate, because of the rare health condition, I can't eat as much as other people, and the average person without it, the average person is very rare, so it's not like there's, so anyway, so I decided maybe I couldn't really remember how my diet was. That was 2023. And I was thinking, what way was I eating? Before then, how was I? And I couldn't even remember how did my body look and feel, because all of a sudden I gained 48 pounds in 2023. Now in 2022, I started taking insulin, and that was at the beginning, I think in March, and then August, early September, I quit smoking cigarettes. So, and I had smoked since I was young, and not a chain smoker, but smoked enough. And so I quit. I thought something was going on here, but I quit, and my diet changed a little bit because of something a nurse had said. I was in the hospital back in 2000. She said, why doesn't she just go on insulin? She was talking to another nurse, because then she could eat more, a variety, more, because my diet was so restrictive. And so I tried that, and that's what I think wrong. Don't eat, certain things. And I'm not going to say what, because there are some people. There was a woman one time, I said the doctor put me on a certain vitamin, and she said, oh, I'm going to do that now. I said, no. I made a video saying, no, this is what my doctor's doing for me, not for you. I mean, some people are so, they hear somebody else is going to do something, and they so want to be on a diet, whatever. Oh, I'm going to do this. No, that could be really harmful to your health. Seriously, I mean, I'm not telling anybody what to do or not do, but really? People who go on diets, and they talk about the diet, and then other people say, oh, I'm going to do that. No, man, I remember being in a hospital one time, and I was in the just waiting there for, I think Adam had got his eye hurt somehow at work, and I was sitting there waiting for him in the in the waiting area, and I heard this woman talk about some, back then HIPAA was not, there was no HIPAA back then, and so somebody was talking about a woman I knew, a woman I went to school with. And that's how I remember it. Or maybe, no, I think the woman I went to school with was there when it happened. But they were talking about a woman who died from some diet. And like it just happened kind of thing. And I mean, I don't remember the diet, you know, but she shouldn't have been on that diet. And so, yeah, the doctors have to say what diet, and doctors have to, you know, y'all have to talk about it and get on the right one, or your, you know, diet, your doctor, your whatever professional. Now, I have a dietitian too, and a doctor, and on and on. I have doctors, plural, you know, healthcare providers, plural. Okay, so, but anyway, I had started this going back to what I remember somewhat. I started going back to it probably a week or so ago, and yeah, I'd say, and kinda, I'm tapering off, kind of thing, changing it slowly, getting better, you know, adjusted to, you know, I keep tabs on my diet, and I have since November, and you know, diet as in what I eat, and so I've been trying to make more because it was eating just basically a few different things, just changing them up day to day. I needed more, to add more, and you'll have to do the calorie and add up and figure out and all this stuff, how much it is, and work it within my budget. I wouldn't say it that way. And this is another one, to take that stuff out and put something else in to replace it that is healthier. And, you know, whatever is healthier, and I'm keep trying to get healthier and healthier. And even bought some salmon, you know, the other day. And Adam, he said, "What are you going to do with this?" And I'd seen it on TV, and we used to eat this when I was a child. And we made salmon croquettes. And I think we used to call them salmon croquet. I don't remember why. I think maybe it was just when we were kids. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, who lived next door to my mother, she was French. And I don't know if we got that from her. I don't think that's the correct pronunciation. I took French, I learned French, but it's been a long time ago. long time ago. And I mean, she had interesting words for things that she used, but she knew English also, and very fluently. And anyway, so I told him I was going to make that again, and he goes, "What do you mean again? You never made it." I said, "I have made it, dude." He was going to argue with me. Adam's, you know, retired. I think September. I think he said September will be 2 years, and he has just become the mansplainer. You know, doing the mansplaining thing, and he's going to argue every point with me. He's going through all these changes, you know, trying to adjust. Well, I'm not here for that. Like I told him yesterday, he said, this one's a little funny, because I'm wearing compression socks. That's the only thing that one doctor I saw yesterday suggested, as others have, and she explained, you know, something I had a fear about. And anyway, he's had to help me with one of them because I can't lift the foot. There's something wrong with the hip and the leg, and which I'm doing start my physical therapy soon for. And he had helped me with the compression socks to put on and off. I've done it with that one on that one. The other one's no problem, but that one is really hard, difficult to get on. And he said, "I didn't sign up for all this." We met and married when I was 18. Today's the last day I can say I'm 62. Yeah, because I turn 63 tomorrow. And yeah, and he said, "I didn't sign up for all this." And I said, "Yeah, and you know what? And I didn't sign up for," and I made my list, and he just sits there and looks at me, you know. Yeah, one of us, me, had more that she didn't sign up for. So, yeah, he's going to tell me he didn't sign up for put a sock on my, compression sock on my foot. It is kind of funny. It is really. I'm that kind that laughs stuff off, you know, because sometimes it is funny to me, okay? But, he, like I've told him before, he's the glass half empty. I'm the glass half full. We really know it. You know, I actually had said it backwards. Hopefully I didn't do it this time. The first time he goes, didn't you say that backwards? I said, yeah, I think I did. But, you know, he's negative. I'm positive. He's, you know, pessimistic. I'm optimistic, although it doesn't sound like the videos I make, you know. But overall, I'm a cheerful person. He's not. He's a grumpy old man. It's like, oh. You know, when he gets all grumpy old man. Because we watched that movie, you know, together before. So he knows what I'm talking about. But anyway, I wish you shouldn't ever call anybody anything. Not name calling. And he, by the way, comes from a country across the globe. And that just reminded me of this. I have told him this a million times. He was not taught, as I was here in Texas, growing up here in Texas, the United States, you know, that you don't tell anybody to shut up. You don't tell them to be quiet, shut up, none of that stuff. You don't shush them. You know, that's rude. And you don't, you don't cuss. And this is how we were raised back then. And I think it was kind of common. I'm a social behavioral scientist back then. And nowadays, man, you watch a video and people are cussing like crazy and justifying it. You know, I'm an adult. All adults cuss. No, all adults don't. Period. Full stop. Stop. Nope. No. Not all adults cuss. Nope. No. You see what I'm saying? I mean, sometimes it's funny because people want to put out there, they want to justify why they're doing something. They know that it's not really socially acceptable because that person, especially one of them, she's like she's my age, maybe a year older. So no, you know, discussing, cussing, it's kind of, to me, you know, the things like in telling somebody to shut up or using this 4-letter C word to speak to about a woman, you know, these things. And he was not taught that. He was, you know, he grew up in a different country across the globe. And he'll every once in a while say, you know, oh, shut up. You know, don't ever say that again. He still does, but, you know, and it's something usually like, he just said something, speaking of, he just drove up. But yeah, usually, I mean, I say, and, you know, and then he's, oh, shut up. But he just drove up. He just went to Costco for us. I'm going to wrap this up. Talk to you on another video. Bye. Okay, so today I came up with this of just because you claim it, it doesn't make it yours. And there's a little humor behind that, huh? But I did look it up, and nobody has said that, you know, cited it for, you know, claimed it for themselves. So yeah, this is how I'm looking at this. But also, there's those who, it's just because they proclaim it, it doesn't make it theirs, and it doesn't make it true. Proclamation is about that somebody puts it out there to the world, but there might not be any immediate proof. Claim is when you're putting out there to the world that there's fact behind it. Okay. But it was on my mind today for various reasons, really. And it didn't come up that way. And it wasn't about, at first, wasn't about people who, you know, they decided, like some people have decided, not just one, but they, and not just one field. I mean, they'll say that basically, that they're and listen to these words. I've said this before in a video. Don't know what channel I put it on, but listen to these words. They claim to be in self-proclamations. They are telling the world, or they're having somebody there that's interviewing them like as if that's not fake, but to say to the world, you are this, correct? And they'll say yes. Okay. And there's no fact behind it. It's not a claim. There's no fact behind it, and never will be a fact behind it. That they are, ready for the words, the world's, belonging to the world, the whole world, the world's, how does it go? The world's leading experts on, in whatever topic, whatever genre, whatever topic, whatever subject, whatever what they put behind that. The world. Now, you're not going to get a world to agree with, to our world to agree with. I read that somewhere. It was Googled it. To agree on that one person is the world's leading this or that. No, especially, I mean, there's so much difference between cultures and how they see people and who they think has the right way of looking at this, that, or the other, okay? But I know plenty of them that are put up there, and whether it's by them or by others, some of them believe if they say it enough, it's not that they're telling people what people want to hear, okay? They're telling people what they personally want the people to believe, and they repeat it. So, that whole thing, if you keep repeating it, many might, not many, but some at least, will start to believe it. Okay, just because a person claims it, or proclaims it, doesn't make it theirs, doesn't make it real, doesn't make it this. You see what I'm saying? Like they were going to win an award, just because they claim it, doesn't make it yours, doesn't make it theirs. My goodness, it was something else. Like I said, it didn't start off that way. And let's see. And I didn't write down what it started off with. Well, actually, some of it was that, because there were several things today I was thinking about, and I had to start taking notes, little stickies. Yeah, but there was some things that were on my mind, like like that, like I make up something and somebody steals it. Okay, so there were some people, I don't mention what my rare health condition is, because there were people, two at least that I know of, one male, one female, were trying to use it to make money off of it on their videos. Okay. From what I understand, just what I understand, but I am not a voice of authority on any kind of law here in the United States or anywhere. And so this is just what I understand, is you can't do that and, try to gain money off of saying you have some rare health condition, that it's illegal to do so. And so I said that on videos and they both stopped. Okay, and let's see. There were several different things. I was thinking about, like, I have, like I saw this one woman, totally different one, that time, that she would take people's. They used to call them back in the day when computers were just coming out and people were just getting on social media. I was one of them that really, big time. And that would be part of it back in the 80s, and early 90s when it all kind of started. But people they would call them for, I don't know how many years, they call them taglines. And I had some goofy ones, I'd say like, I'd change it up. One day it would say something like, oh, what a day to be in a mood. Or I'd change it up and say, oh, what a mood to be in a day. And people would notice that I'd change it, and it was just funny. Back then, it was funny, because my, what did they call them back then? Screen names or whatever it was, PSC, pseudonyms. One of mine was about, because I was a student and my degrees are in psychology and sociology, so it had something to do with moods. And, I had several, like I said. And I would just make up funny little taglines that were back then were funny nowadays, and things have changed so much. But then, people call them their catchphrases or their, I don't know what they call them now. But maybe same thing, catchphrases. That just doesn't sound right. But anyway, people will steal. I saw this one woman, she kept stealing like she was trying to steal parts of what I would say as if she was a leading expert on it. And she even tried to claim the same degrees I have. And I made a video saying, you can't do that. I didn't say her name or point her out. I just said there was a woman out there, she's trying to claim that she has the same degrees I have, and for what I understand, just like I said about, I don't know all the things about law and all that, and I'm not a voice of authority, but from what I understand, you can't claim to have degrees you don't have. And she stopped. But she kept doing it to me and other people. Some of these other people I watched every blue moon, and I knew that was like their catchphrase or their tagline or their whatever. And she would steal it from them and act like it was hers. She did not. She was a copycat. She didn't have enough brain cells, I guess, to come up with her own. She didn't. She would steal from people, and she's still to this day known for that. She takes, and then the things that she comes up with herself were so ridiculous. I mean, they're just bad. Okay, if she tries to come up with something, it's just bad. And she could lose her channel. I think a couple of times she actually had her channel, what is it? When they temporarily put her on suspension, I think. And rightfully so, because she said some bad things. Really bad things. I've seen some people say some things that would, whoa. Wow. One of the women that she stole the woman's catchphrase from, she actually had hers done, and she deserved it. Oh my gosh. But they came back, they got their channels back. But it was really bad. Really. Oh, I can't express that enough. But anyway, there were so many other thoughts that kept coming to my mind, today about this, that led me to have this thought about just because you claim it, it doesn't make it yours. And those other ones like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. They teach kids that a lot. Just because you can do it, it doesn't mean you should. Okay, really. You can get in a lot of trouble. And, but I think this kind of represents how it is these days, are the copycats that are going to claim things. And then one of the reasons right now is because one of the grifters, one of the women, it was actually a man and a woman that tried to use my health condition to make money off of. And the woman, she apparently does watch me. And I think what happens most often, hardly anybody watches me because I get sick. And I have to stop making videos, which doesn't make me consistent. So they did channel me. It takes a long time for people to, it doesn't send out impressions, even to people who are subscribed to me. And, check out Dead channel. It's not shadow ban. Shadow ban means you did something wrong, and I don't do anything wrong. So I'm not one of those. But anyway, hold on a second. About that, but yeah, one that was trying to do that, she was doing this. She stole what I say about myself, and I'm old enough to be her mother, and almost. Well, I guess I am, huh? Let's see, maybe I am. My goodness, no, I need to learn how to add again. I'm not quite. I could be, I guess, technically, but I'd be really young, Mom. But anyway, I have this thing that I say about me. I say, I am not new to this planet. Okay? You know, when something comes up, you know, that I've seen it all before. Today is the last day I can say I'm 62 years old. Tomorrow I turn 63. So, yeah, 63. And I was born in 1963. I thought that was interesting. But that's me. Anyway, that kind of rhymed, didn't it? But she started using that. Okay? You know, she's a known grifter. Some of, you know, of course, as grifters go, you know, sob story, you know, e-beggar, and oh, she doesn't have money for groceries, and then you see her go spend out a couple $100 just to have some fun, that she deserves it because things have been too stressful for her. You know, this kind of crap. And but she took mine. You know, I say that I'm not new to this planet. She decided she's going to start saying that. But, you know, it's like that one guy who kept stealing my ideas. I've made a couple of statements that, you know, these videos are dated. Oh, yes. And if I wanted to out him for what he was, I would just say, go look at his videos, look at the date on mine and the date on his. He usually would do it by the next day. Get him, you know, make the video and then get it put up. Would be the next day. It's in, you know, calendar day. But often it was within the 24 hours, but the calendar day. So when he posted it, it was after mine. And that's not the only thing. So when I say something, they're there. The dates are there. You know, there was one time before the changes that happened in, what year, 2018? I don't remember. I've been on YouTube on my original channel. I started, it'll be 12 years in September. No, in August. What am I saying, September? But there used to be this, that it would say the time. And like when people left a comment, I don't know if it still does on comments. But yeah, I think it says that, you know, how many days. But it used to, I think it used to say the time of the day. So you really knew when somebody was copycatting somebody, they were stealing their ideas, stealing their thunder, stealing their views, because that's, yeah, that's a view of mine. We're stealing people's views by copycatting. Anyway, so all these things and thoughts were flowing through my mind, and so I came up with that about the, you know, just because you claim it, you know, or proclaim it, it doesn't make it yours, or it doesn't make it fact, or it doesn't, you know. Just the nerve of some people. They are the world's leading expert on some stuff. First of all, like I said, there's no way you're going to have the whole world to make the same decision. You know, oh, this person is the world's leading. And so there's no world's leading, and there's no such thing as an expert. Unless somebody made up something, you know, some new thing, you know, and you can go and read Plato and so on, you know, about any new ideas and everything. I was a career student, by the way, over 20 years, so I say that, and yeah, you can read on Plato, you know, Socrates through Plato, and about, you know, people who think they're experts on something, or they've come up with a brand new idea, you know, that hasn't had something that led up to it. It goes way back. Okay, way back. But there will be people who will still try to say they're expert, and there is no such thing, because there is no way that any one human being knows everything about that particular topic. That knows everything. That I remember a teacher taught us this too, and it was, but that one was in English literature at university, and it was that there is no Renaissance person or something like that. And well, professor, It stated it. I don't even know if it was, I don't even remember if it was male or female. I mean, I was a career student. I had so many professors. And at first, I've moved around a lot. So I went to different colleges and universities. You know, like if I was in a place I wasn't going to stay, a state, like Florida, and I wasn't going to stay for long, I went to college. And then when I went, you know, here in Texas, you know, I'm from Texas. I was born and raised in Texas. And is where I really settled down, if you could call it that. You know, but I did have 2 universities I attended back, you know, concurrently even at times. And eventually, finally, you know, did this degree, then went on to do another one, and then went on to do on and on like that concurrently. Some of it, I got burnt out big time. But anyway, the things that some people try to steal, the things that some people try to claim, you know, they try to put themselves up there to be something they're not going to be. They will never be. But they'll make sure people hear it that way. And some people will fall for it. We got to remember, some of these people are master manipulators. So don't feel bad if you got manipulated, because they're master manipulators. They've been practicing for many, many, many years, some of them. Anyway, wrapping it up. Talk to you in another video. Bye. Okay, today I had this thought hit my brain. You know, the people who are doing these sob stories, oh, they don't have enough money for groceries. They make videos on it, and they'll quite often start with that. I've been seeing these on and off on video alone about 11 years now. I've been making videos on YouTube for it'll be 12 years in August 2026. But anyway, you know, the people who do this, they say, oh, you know, and some of them use their kids. It's some people call them grifting. I don't like that word. But sob story, and, you know, anyway, today, I've been talking about these for years. Today, I had this thought hit me. And I've thought of something like this before, but not exactly this way, I don't think. And that is, over all these years, you know, that is, some of these people, they say this, and there's evidence in their videos that they're lying. Okay, they'll say that they don't have money for this, or that their car doesn't work, or on and on and on, to get people to give them money. And there's evidence contrary to it. Like if somebody says that they don't have money for groceries, and then they go out and show themselves going out and spending a couple of $100 for just entertainment. Go to a restaurant, and they do this repeatedly over, say, a few years. Say, I don't have money for groceries, or this, and then you see in the next video, because some of these people, they have this really weird thing I've noticed. I'm a social and behavioral scientist, and I'm trained in research, and I've noticed that they have this, which kind of stands, I mean, I've known people like this before video, but they have this, it's like as if it's a strong desire, you know, I can't say need, but a strong desire to brag. Okay, they are e-begging. There are digital panhandlers, like I Googled it, and one time it said digital panhandlers, kind of like that. Okay, but anyway, what they do is too many of them seem to like, they have that desire for people to think of them, you know, you can read some stuff on narcissism, narcissistic personality disorder. I don't diagnose anybody, but, you know, nobody should unless they're the actual person, and then you wouldn't be putting it on, you know, their actual counselor, then you wouldn't be putting it on video here in the United States. But, you know, they just, okay, let's get back to this part. They have this strong need, you know, it seems like a need in them is so strong to brag and to have people look at them and glorify them and put them up on a pedestal where they see that they believe that they are high up on this pedestal, on this totem pole, this whatever they have erected and put themselves way up high. Like some of them, they think that they earned money e-begging, electronic begging. Oh, I don't have money, that kind of person. And people donate to them. That therefore elevates them, their income, but they think, like I said, social and behavioral scientists here, they think that their income increases, that they are therefore at a level high, like say people who are degreed, people who have master's degrees and PhD, graduate degrees from university, and they elevate themselves that high or even higher. They elevate themselves into the wealthy class, and they'll brag about how much money they earn, just so people will look at them a certain way. They'll cut down their audiences if anybody dares, in their view, dares. It's a dare. They dare to do that, to say anything to them, like constructive criticism, or to tell them, point out, you're an e-beggar. You're claiming all this much money, and you're saying you don't have money for groceries, and then you go and to restaurants, and oh man, they will come. They have this anger will come out of them, and they'll make video after video after video across time because there's so much anger and they don't let it go. Makes me think of borderline personality disorder, really. I've known people who are diagnosed, and I'm not diagnosing people who do this, but I've known people who were diagnosed by professionals, different professionals, and that's how they are. They can't let it go. How dare somebody? And I'm not saying everybody with borderline personality disorder does that either. So it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. None of this. But anyway, boy, I did stream of consciousness there, didn't I? Yeah. But anyway, today what I was thinking of was, because a lot of them have people who are retirement or on Social Security, disability or Social Security. I to this day, I'm telling you, I don't know all the differences. I'm not a social worker. Okay, so that's not my thing. But they target them because these are people who will give literally their last dollar. Some of them are like, especially the ones who are Christian, and they believe they're doing something Christian-like, by donating to people who say they don't have enough money for groceries. Some of them will even use their kids, saying, my kids, and then you find out their kids are grown adults who are still living at home and have full-time jobs, okay, and are earning enough money to buy their own groceries, this kind of thing, and then they'll go to food banks, and they work too, and a good job, and they go to food banks and get the money, that's meant for the needy, not the greedy like them. It's meant for the needy. Oh, disgusting people. But anyway, what came to my mind today is, I've always heard that things like people who go to food pantries, some of them call them food banks, but banks is where they store the stuff before they go to the food pantries. I had to look that up myself. But, some of them, where did I leave off here? I'm looking at my notes here. That something like that could be, people who do that, it could fall under a federal offense, a federal crime, because that go to food banks. Because if they're in, I am not an expert at all in law. I'm not a voice of authority at all. I'm not an attorney, nothing like that at all. But what I've read and heard, it says that if a person, you're frauding the government basically. If they lie, like on their application, and say they don't have this or that or the other, so they can get this free food, could be, notice the words, could be a crime. Well, today I was thinking, if these people are doing grifting and they're getting, money from like grandmas or grandpas, people who are on Social Security, people who are retired, people who are on fixed incomes, people who get money through the government, and they're sending donations to these sob story fraudsters. Okay, can that be considered a federal crime? I looked it up right before I started this video. Googled it, and the Google AI, whatever it is, showed up and said, yes, it could. Okay, yes, it could. But I wonder how many of these know this, and but they just keep on keeping on with it. They say, oh, it would be hard for them to prove. But like I said, many of these have that strong desire to be thought of and put in a position where they place themselves high on that totem pole, high up there on a pedestal, and they have that strong desire for their audience to see them there. So they brag. They brag about how much money they make off of it. They brag about how they get their money. Well, they actually will not give credit to their audience. I've noticed that. Like one of them, she got a lot of money from her audience and paid off a big bill, and big debt she owed. But she took all credit for it. That she earned money. She didn't say earned money begging. She didn't say earned money from her audience, but she earned it. I don't know. I keep saying earned like that because the people who would say respect has to be earned. What are you teaching people? Narcissism? Seriously. And the way they would say it was always earned. Was such a stretch. Earned. Respect has to be earned. Sorry, it just sounds so weird. And hey, and I'm well aware I have an accent. I'm Texan. I'm well aware. And anyway, so do these sob story grifters quite often. They'll take on. I've seen it take on the superior, what they think is a superior accent. I've said quite often, it's like I've seen in doctors' offices, and it's not just doctors' offices. And I have to watch it because when I talk about it, it happens to me. Because I've worked I was a career student over 20 years. I worked in doctors' offices, not the whole 20 years of it, doing seasonal work whenever my schedule would allow, and as like the interim office management, surgery scheduling, medical billing and collections, these kinds of things. And I worked in these offices, and a lot of these people, they cop an attitude, an accent they apparently thought would make them seem superior, which was a mixture of Valley Girl and whether they think it's British or royalty. It is like one of them. I can finally do it because I could use this. One of them, it was the manager, and she said, the first one said, she called me, she was like she was strung out on some kind of caffeine, and she kept talking over me, and she said, oh, what, you want to speak to the manager? And then the manager said, because I told the manager, I said, nobody's supposed to be calling me. It's all supposed to be done through the portal. And she said, she paused and she goes, no, it says you prefer that thing, that prefer. Okay, you prefer not to be called. I called the help desk about how mine was set. It was two different people. One was a woman, one was a man. And said, no, it states do not call. So, no, I knew it. Took me a while to set it up with them. So, anyway, but that whole attitude, they think that they're superior quite often. And you'll hear sometimes these grifters will cop an attitude like that. It's whatever accent they think makes them sound, or terminology they use makes them sound superior, they will use it. Because they have that strong need to be seen as elevated so far up that ladder when they're really not. They're just e-beggars. They're e-begging to get that money. That's not working for the money. You know, some people want to say that it is. Nope. It's e-begging. It's e-begging. Okay, I'm wrapping this up. Talk to you on another video.